Welcome back, everybody. Today I have a special video for you, as I have one of my top students inside of my course come in and give you guys his story and also tips on how to basically succeed, right? Because he has had a lot of success recently, and basically I wanted him to come in, give you guys tips, tell his story, hope you guys, give you guys some hope, because I know a lot of you guys that are starting out still feel hopeless, don't know if this is gonna work out. So just having someone that's done it is really, really good, right? So here's Brandon, guys. Brandon Villar. I've known him since the end of high school, before fuck the student shit. Like, he's one of my really good friends, one of my best friends here.
Yeah.
So it's just awesome seeing his success and his journey. And like I said, I just wanted to bring him on and basically tell them your story, because recently you've had some monumental success. Like right now, we're sitting inside of a $5 million house that Brandon is living in now, right? So I'm gonna, I guess, show the house maybe later down, if anything. You know what I'm saying? But yo, Brandon, go ahead, introduce yourself, and tell them about your story and about how you've been able to basically go from working a job to where you are now.
Yeah. So hey guys, what's going on? Guess we'll start right after high school.
Right.
This is a good place to start. So,
Right.
It's around the time when I met Parikshit. So basically, right after high school, I ended up moving out right away. I ended up moving out, and I just wanted to, didn't go to high school. Didn't go to college. Just wanted to get straight into the workforce and start making my money. Basically, I want to get my life started.
Mm-hmm.
So I very quickly realized that working a job and trying to pay for things like rent and worrying about groceries is so much, man. Like, especially since you're going through that transition period right after high school, like whether you go to school or whether you go into the workforce. It's a huge transition, and the workforce, you learn a lot about earning your money, like the value of the dollar. You really learn that in the workforce, but it is hard. It's really hard. So me, probably like anyone else who's trying to look for more money, I thought of every side hustle in the book to make more money. I started businesses, I did everything, and I won some and I lost some. I lost a lot. I lost a lot more than I won.
Right.
And and then eventually I got to a point where I had to make a decision. I had to be like, okay, I'm 19 years old. I can barely afford my rent month after month, barely afford my groceries. Had to, when you have to.
And this is recent, guys. This is like pretty recent too.
You have to do the bare minimum with groceries, and that's not a good feeling when you have just enough to survive. So you have to make a choice on what you want to do with your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when people get to that point, people either rise to the occasion or they don't. They either sink or they swim. So I looked around in my circle. I looked in my acquaintances, my family. I'm like, hey, who do I know? Who am I close to right now? That's where I want to be. They are where I want to be. So I looked at Splash, and he taught me a lot about just business in general off the bat. Just in regular day-to-day conversations, learned a lot about business in general, and then eventually I ended up getting into emails.
Right.
He put me on the emails. And I realized, wow. I didn't realize this at the time, but emails in the whole realm of e-commerce and making money online is just on an upward trend.
Once you really understood the power of it, you're like, oh shit. I remember I feel like I remember the time you had your own moment. It's like, yo, it makes so much sense. It's like these stores,
Yeah.
So I feel like even you, this is what I say, is like you had the mentality of a businessman. Because like a business, what is a business? It's a business is something that solves a problem, right?
Yeah.
Provides a solution to a problem. So once you realize that, oh shit, this is a big problem in the market, you're like, oh shit, if I have the solution, I can make a lot of money, especially if there is a demand for it.
Yeah.
And that's just like basic economics, right? If you like just taking back what I just said, like that's just a recipe to make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not like the demand is high, the supply is low.
Yeah.
Like, come on,
Exactly. And like I said, I didn't really take it in at the time, but going through it and slowly learning and slowly dipping my foot into the realm of e-commerce in general, I realized how powerful it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it almost doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? How in demand it is. How everyone's going on their phones. Everyone's doing all their shopping online. So.
I think this virus really showed it to people how I've been spending money, but all the money I've been spending is online.
Yeah.
That shows you a lot about, we can talk about like the whole opportunity of the e-commerce, revolution, but that's like for later. I guess we can go on days about that, right?
Yeah.
But I think some people might want to know is like early on when you were starting, you know, the struggles that everybody has is getting clients without experience. I remember we talked about this before, and you had a really good answer for like how you got it.
Yeah. So nothing crazy. I didn't do any crazy research. I literally just did some light searching online. I'm like, okay, how generally in business do you get your first set of clients? So yeah, this one little tip I learned by just doing some light searching online was this little formula. It's called FFA. So you have your friends, your family, and your acquaintances. So it's basically a big circle of everyone that you know. And you basically reach out to everyone. You say, hey, do you need this? If not, can you do me a favor and just ask 2 people if they need this service that I can provide?
Right.
And from that, I was actually, right off the bat, I found my first 2 clients. They were 5-figure clients. They were solid. And I didn't make a lot of money off of them. I made barely any money.
But you got experience and something to add to your portfolio now.
Exactly. 100%. Got a lot of experience. I went through all the sort of bumps that you go through when you first start off with your client.
Right.
And I added it to my portfolio. And then that later on down the line helped me to get my first like 8-figure client.
Right.
Surprisingly. So, and then that's when the business really, really started to take off. And I was, you know, getting like crazy, ridiculous paychecks.
And what's crazy you say that is like, we both agree on this, is like, it takes that one client. Like it was a one client for me that changed the whole trajectory of not only my business, but my whole life. Like how I thought about things, you know?
I thought about business.
Yeah, how I thought about business, how I thought about money, how like, you know, like what money is. And I think, and one thing I like to talk about is, you know, a course is not going to change your life. A business model is not going to change your life. The course that you went through, the information that you have access to, everybody has access to, right?
Yeah.
The reason you are different is, you know, because of the things you've been able to do with the information. You want to touch on more about like, you know, to taking action, but not only that, like changing as a person to actually create change, because information is just information, right?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, anyone can have any information that's out there. We have access to the internet. So everyone has access to all sorts of different types of information. I guess it just matters on what you do with that information. Like that's the secret. So what I learned in the course that was super beneficial to taking action was the mindset part of the course.
Right.
Because, you know, anyone could go out and tell you to do something, but I think the mentality is more important. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The difference is the mentality.
Things like focus, things like being persistent, things like not letting, you know, I probably got hundreds of no's.
Right. Not letting that affect you.
Just not letting that affect you and just powering through it is really, really beneficial. Really, really important. And you talk about that a lot.
Yeah, literally. Everything that there is, you know, needed, I guess, or necessary to succeed is in there. But like you said, the difference between you and some of my other students is the mentality. Like I've seen like basically a whole new Brandon almost, you know what I mean? Like the thinking, the abundance thinking, how your standards are raised, how you're working, even if you don't feel like it, like little things like that matter. Like people think it's just the information, and the information inside of a course will change your life. But unless you're changing your life like him, who, you know, he was reading even though he was working, he was reading books, he was meditating, eating healthier, quitting his bad habits. So of course, all of that was a big factor in his changing. Like, don't only think that my course helped him, right? Like, don't only think that my information helped him. Because, no, it was like, you know, he had a big part in his change as well. Like, he was the cause of his change, right? I was just there to trigger it. I was just, like, be there to help him out, whatever. But no matter, like, that's how I look at it. And that's what I guess what I want people to know is that you can't create change unless, like, it's a change in yourself. It's just not only changing what you know. It's, like, changing your true self. So I want someone to remember, like, someone that wants to get in the same position as Brandon is, like, it's not always about learning new things. It's about, you know, becoming a better version, becoming a person that deserves this type of success, right?
100%. And like I said, again, back to that mindset, things that really, really helped me was I took this from anything, even from little things like the job I had. I actually worked in sales. So you worked in sales too.
Right.
When you work in sales, you also learn a lot about mindset. And I feel like just, I'm going to tell you why it's so important. So in sales, you go through your day. I used to work probably 8 to 10 hours a day. Basically, I did cold calling. So I used to work 8 to 10 hours a day. And I used to just get the phone hung up on me. I used to just get people, you know, no's, hundreds of no's a day, basically. That was my job.
Right.
So then when you experience all that negativity, you find a way to sort of like balance it out. You know what I mean? That's where you build your character.
Right.
You know, when you experience a lot of failures. So experiencing all those no's, I said, hey, you know, I might as well be experiencing these no's, you know, developing my own business. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because each no you receive is one step closer to a yes.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I took those principles and I applied them into my business, and it really helped me just be 100% persistent.
Right.
And yeah, like Prakshi, Splashman, he provides all the tools. You just need to go and use them.
Yeah, like everything is there. You just have to do it. You just have to
do
execute on the information. Like the information's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
And I think the reason people maybe stop halfway through or whatever, maybe they can't find clients or whatever, maybe they stop, or they lose their momentum, they lose their energy, and they really get down on themselves. But the point of this is that, like, you really just need to be persistent. That's my biggest thing.
Business is not easy, right?
You need to be persistent. Like, you're gonna get no's. You're gonna get people telling you to, you know, F off. Like,
You don't know. Yeah, people are gonna be mean to you. It's like, you know,
you just need to be persistent. You need to be confident in yourself and be persistent, and that's pretty much the secret.
And I think also understanding your value too, like understand that what your service, like what your service has done for businesses.
Yeah.
That's why you don't chase. That's why you don't, like, when you're selling, it's completely different now.
It's
right.
so different now than it was in the beginning. I mean, now
It's the leverage, right? The positioning is completely different.
it's so different. I mean, now my clients, they call me randomly, and they're like, hey, you know, I love the service that you're providing. Like, you guys are at the end of the month or the quarter, you see how much money that you're making these businesses, and you really can't ever go back to the way it was.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's like, to us, it's just like, you know, numbers, but
Yeah.
you realize like that's a lot of transactions that was caused because of us, right? Like
100%.
little shit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's awesome, bro. Like, I'm really, you know, glad of all the success you've had so far.
Appreciate it.
And it's just crazy to think that it's just the beginning, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like I said, guys, you go ahead, follow Brandon. You know, living in this beautiful house right now. And it's just the beginning of his success, you know what I mean? Almost hitting, what, 6-figure months?
Yeah.
Almost
Close.
six. Oh, close to 6 figures.
Soon.
So we're gonna use that as the clickbait, you know what I mean? But guys, hope you guys enjoy. Hey, if you guys ever want to ask Brandon questions, you know, don't bother him, of course. But if you guys ever like curious about what he's doing, if you want to, you know, ask him any questions, go ahead, hit him up, or give him a follow. Follow his journey and everything he's doing. But anyways, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.